Strategy and the Delusion of Grand Designs. This was an article written by John Kay, a British economist. His website is johnkay.com. And I think this is the question that got him to write this article. The question was, why does different companies facing the same environment perform differently? Let's say there's company A, let's say Asian Paints, and then Berger Paints, two companies producing paints, and they are in the same market, let's say. Why do they perform differently? Or let's take Southwest Airlines and United. Domestically, why do they perform differently? So I'm guessing this is the basis of him writing this article based on reading this. And he says that the five forces framework, which has the supply demand with new entrants, competitors, and substitutes, and the value net, which also adds the complementer, does not answer this core question as to why does different companies facing the same environment perform differently. And he believes that the resource-based model, which is focused on core capabilities that the company has, is much more a better indicator to answering that question. And he summarizes this article with, and then the word he uses is delusion. So, and that's quite critical because I think he's very clear that we believe that there is this control of the future, that with our plan and vision and forecast we can actually control the future. But he thinks that that's a big delusion, that strategy and prediction power or controlling the future is very hard, and that it's, and then having that total power to even implement that grand vision is also very hard. So he gives us a more pragmatic view of looking at strategy, and he says it's a delusion. And with all of these grand planning and designs and visions and forecast, it's a delusion. And he says that because he feels strongly that the environment, the market in which you operate, is the one that is the core differentiator. So it's the market or the environment, and the way in which the company, the sociology, the company has its own DNA of performing. That's what distinguishes like how which one is a winner versus which one is a loser. So these are the two factors. He says that the DNA of the company as to how, what is the culture, what is the pattern, what is the capabilities that the companies has internally, the core capabilities, and the match between the environment. Those are the two factors, and the environment or the market determines the winner. So he says, like the organisms that evolve in nature, and then nature picks the best fit, survival of the fittest, right? Evolution. Similarly, organizations evolve, and that with those core capabilities that they have built, the market, if it needs those core capabilities, would favor those companies. So it's the focus is more inward on capability building, but it's also giving a lot more emphasis on what's the need of the hour and who's actually solving that need of the hour in a way that is actually useful. And and the focus actually is on this distinctive core capabilities, like how can we build the competitive advantage by focusing inward as a company and figuring out like what is it that I do as a company that others can't do. And that's my core competitive advantage, or it's my core distinctive capability that's very hard for someone to replicate. And when I focus on that, and when I ask this question, why can't the competitors copy or imitate what I as a company do? That is the core focus of this article, which is like to really go inward, think about your core capabilities, think about like what are you really good at? What do you bring to the table that's very hard to replicate? And that's the basis of strategy. Believes that strategy in a sense is looking inward, looking at your core capabilities, looking at your analytical capabilities, your overall technical capabilities, your human resource capabilities, your organizational capabilities, like all of your core competence, like relationships that you built with your customers, the innovation that your company has, like what is it that you can analyze. So it's basically strategy is a set of analytical techniques to better understand what core capabilities we have, the current position of the company, and the need of the market. And based on that, you can collect this economic rent or profits or value added, right? All of these are the same term. So basically, looking inward, looking at your core capabilities, looking at the need of the hour from the market demand, and seeing what is that difference. And that is the economic rent concept that's introduced in this. And there's a contradiction here, right? Like if you're trying to build something that is irreproducible, then you're trying to build something already. So you can build it, someone else can build it. So, but there are factors that it's in the article which says market would restrict the entry of certain participant because of the structure, then that could be a barrier. Then it takes too long to even build what you have built, so time could be a barrier. And then a routine which is established in the culture of the org, which the core competencies that it's very hard for you to take it out, because it's now spread across in the organization. So I think that's the core of this article is to focus on inward. And I think the thesis started with this question: why does different companies facing the same environment perform differently? And the answer potentially lies in this new view of looking inward in terms of like what are your core capabilities, and also giving a lot of credit to the market in terms of the market chose you because you were ready, with those distinctive core competencies that others couldn't build and replicate in the time that was needed. So this is quite good, right? It opens up our thinking. It broadens our thinking to giving the credit not just to the brand big vision, planning and forecasting, but really getting better at your core, because there could be distinctive core competency and complementary core competencies. Which is distinctive is which is uniquely you, which is hard for others to replicate in the short period of time, but complementary could be replicatable like by others, right? So it gives us this lens of going inward. It gives us this lens of focusing on building those core capabilities, and it also gives us this humility to be giving the credit to the market forces, to giving the market credit and environment some credit, uh, actually a lot of credit, so that they could choose the best uh, of you as a company. So there are many factors. Expanding our vision in strategy is always useful. We've looked through different ways of looking at it, and resource based is what he believes is the key model for looking at competitive advantage and building those core competencies. All right, thanks.